The Twins take on the Tigers, game one of the doubleheader, and that's going to be a 2:10 p.m. Eastern first pitch. The Minnesota Twins are minus 120 with the total at 7 juice to the over. The Tigers are catching even money for an outright win. If you like the Tigers on the run line, they're minus 160, catching the 1.5. We got Jose Urena on the mound for Detroit, Charlie Barnes for Minnesota. We're hitting at 67%. In our last 15 board member tier package picks on my Patreon website. And the good news is we have another board member tier package pick going off here this evening. And just remember, when you sign up for the board member tier on Patreon, it's an all-access pass to every single pick that I give out every day through the end of July. We also have over 925 folks who are currently signed up and active on that Patreon page. So if you want to see which one of these YouTube free picks are being featured on my Patreon website, link for that site is in the description section below. That's patreon.com/BrockPage. Now the Tigers lost their last 4 straight ball games going into the All-Star break, and all 4 of those losses just so happened to come against Minnesota. Now the Tigers are currently 11 games below 500 for the season, and they've really struggled within divisional play. The Tigers have gotten the W in only 18 of 48 divisional games, and they're also winning just 40% of their divisional games at Comerica Park. This Detroit lineup averages less than 7.4 hits a game on their home field. They're also scoring only 3.9 runs a game at Comerica Park as well. Jose Urena's just 2-8 on the season, with a 6.43 ERA and a 1.69 WHIP. He's also walked 37 batters compared to just 50 strikeouts. Now, the Tigers are taking on a Minnesota team who went into the break winners of 6 out of their last 8. This Minnesota lineup's also in the top 10 in road scoring, top 5 in road hits. Nelson Cruz is in the top 15 in both batting average and OPS. The Sluggers hitting .304 with an OPS of .930. Meanwhile, Jorge Polanco's got 31 extra base hits along with 135 total bases. When it comes to the total on this one, Minnesota went 60% to the under in their last 10 outings. And once again, this particular game here, it's the first of a doubleheader, so it's only a 7-inning game. Meanwhile, the Tigers have gone 26-17 to the under on their home field. I'm going to lean toward the Minnesota Twins minus 120 and the under 7 runs in game 1. Next matchup, Marlins Phillies, 4:05 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And this is game 1 of a doubleheader as well. The Marlins are minus 115 on the road, total 6.5. Sandy Alcantara for Miami, Matt Moore for the Titans. Despite a rocky first half for Moore, the Phillies do play their best baseball on their home field. They're 24-16 straight up at Citizens Bank Park. This Phillies pitching staff is also in the top 10 in fewest walks allowed, and they also strike out 10.2 batters a game on their home field. Now, one more thing to add here, the Phillies went into the All-Star break winners of 7 out of their last 10. They're taking on a last-place Miami club who lost 3 out of their last 4. And they also find themselves 11 games below 500. The Marlins also play their worst baseball on the road, winners of just 17 out of 46 road games. This Marlins lineup is in the bottom 3 in scoring on average per game. And they also strike out 10.2 times a game when they travel. Now, Miami also has Sandy Alcantara on the bump here today, who, despite some pretty good numbers, they still can't get the W for him. He comes into today's start with a 5-8 record. Now, total-wise, 7 out of Miami's last 10 ball games with Philadelphia stayed under the line. I'm going to go ahead and lean toward the Philadelphia Phillies plus $1 and the under 6.5 in game 1. Next ball game, it is going to be Mets versus the Pirates, 7:05 East. The New York Mets are minus 145, total 7. Marcus Stroman for New York, JT Brubaker for Pittsburgh. Brubaker's coming into the start with a 4.9 record and a 4.47 ERA. The last place Pirates have the second fewest wins in the National League, and they find themselves 22 games below 500. This Pittsburgh lineup is dead last in the majors in hits on average per game. They're also averaging less than 7.6. They're also averaging less than 7.7 hits a game at PNC Park. They're taking on a first-place Mets club who leads the majors in fewest hits allowed per contest. New York's holding their opponents to less than 6.9 hits per game. This Mets pitching staff is also allowing just 3.6 runs a game overall for this season. Marcus Stroman comes into today's contest with a 2.74 ERA and a 1.13 whip. He's also got 83 strikeouts under his belt for the entire season as well. Now, total-wise, 5 out of the Mets' last 8 contests stayed under the total of 7.5 runs. I'm going to lean toward the New York Mets minus 145 and the under 7.5. And with that, guys, we're going to jump into our next and final matchup for this Part 1 video. It is going to be Pods-Nats, 7:05 East. The San Diego Padres are minus $1.25, totals 9.5. Chris Paddock for San Diego. Eric Fetty for Washington. Fetty's just 4-6 on the season, 4.59 ERA, and a 1.36 whip. The Nationals went into the break on a 4-game losing streak. They also lost 8 out of their last 10. The Nationals are scoring only 3.6 runs a game on their home field. And they find themselves in second to last place in the division. They're taking on a Padres club who's in the top 10 in road scoring. Fernando Tatis Jr., he's in the top 3 in both homers and OPS. Shortstop has hit 28 home runs with an OPS of 1.020. Tatis has also driven in 60 runners. Meanwhile, Manny Machado's hit 15 homers and knocked in 60 himself. The Pods are in the top 10 in fewest hits allowed. They give up just 3.8 runs a game. Chris Paddock has 81 strikeouts in just 77 innings of work. When it comes to the scoring in this one, 2 out of San Diego's last 3 road games stayed under the line. Meanwhile, Washington is 33-13 to the under at Nationals Park. I'm going to lean toward the San Diego Padres minus $1.25 and the under 9.5. And with that, guys, we're going to jump into our quick pick recap, powered to you by my Patreon website. I like Minnesota minus 120, under 7 runs in Game 1 of the doubleheader. I like the Philadelphia Phillies plus $1 and the under 6.5 in Game 1 of their doubleheader as well. I like the New York Mets minus 145, under 7.5. Before I give you my next and final free pick for the video, one final reminder that we're hitting at 67% in our last 15 board member tier package picks on my Patreon website. And the good news is we have another board member tier package pick going off here this evening. I'm going to lean toward the San Diego Padres minus $1.25 and the under 9.5. And with that, guys, now it's time for some shout outs to our top 10 YouTube commenters over the past couple of days or so. Shout out to Tattoo Keese, South Plainfield Striker, Kevin Taylor, Sauce Sensei Master Drip Lord. Shout out to The Mac, Maurice Fletcher, RC NYC. Shout out to Drew the Chosen One, Bill Phillips, and last but certainly not least, got to give a shout out to my good friend, Makia. All right, guys, that's going to do it for me. Don't forget to check me out on Patreon. Now, if you guys do end up getting a package here today on my Patreon website, just keep in mind, Patreon's going to bill you the day you sign up and then the first of every month following that. So if you do end up getting a membership here today on Patreon, just keep in mind you're going to get access to that content all the way through the end of July. But most importantly, guys, got to thank you for joining me right here on YouTube. I really hope you enjoyed all this great free content, all this great free information. With that said, happy Friday to you. Best of luck to you. And I look forward to seeing you later on today on my website at patreon.com/BrockPage.